Hi and good evening, everyone. My name is Albert, and this is VlogsBoutNothin. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your very busy Thursday to join me. I really appreciate it. It is, in fact, August 1st of 2024. Would you look at us go? You feel me? I mean, it's sort of like little old humans just living their lives, you obviously hope things were a lot better, but it is what it is, I guess, for what it is, for all intents and purposes now. But it's quite the ride. You feel me? Quite the ride. So if I haven't already, thank you very much for, new views, new subs, dealing and bearing with me while I, convey a sense of accomplishment through shower vlog postings for the next few more days. You have to understand that, like, I loved Periscope, you feel me? And I really, really wanted to do what I'm doing now on YouTube, on Periscope, but that was not possible, because the platform went away and I lost the creed of my whole purpose, which was shower vlogs. So that was tough. The platform shut down. I got forced out of an apartment, and like, truth be told, and this is going to be a whole video, right? Because I know it's going to require evidence, okay? And like, trust me, everything's on the record here. You feel me? I'm a pretty accountable guy, like, in terms of all that stuff. But that also was the same year that I sold 100,000 Dogecoin for like $60, and it would be just 2 years later that 100,000 Dogecoin would have been worth a little under like $10 million. So that I can't make that up, like, I mean, when I tell people that I've experienced loss, it's not an existential sort of thing. It's actual money that I, lost. And so that was a fun year. I gotta say, that's probably gonna be the most expensive loss that I've taken in terms of backing out on an investment right before it blows up. You feel me? Like, I mean, I'm living like, what a time. You know what I mean? So the shower vlogs mean a lot to me. I have plans in my future older adult life, I guess, to like stage like an actual production in a shower that I have made just for that, with like completely sustainable, like, and reused water and all these things. And I want a tiger claw bathtub, I mean, just because I'm getting older doesn't mean that I still don't want some stuff. And, the things that I do want are few and far between. So I'm hoping that at some point in my life I will be able to get them. You know what I mean? So there's always that. Tonight, I want to talk about an interesting topic because, well, I'm 36 years old. I was basically raised by my grandparents. I'm an old dude in a middle-aged, old-looking man's body. You feel me? For all of what it is as I begin to get closer to the age of 37. So one of the things that I've noticed, you feel me, is that, like, boomers and Gen Xers really, they were like into certain collectibles, as every generation is, given the modality and all the things that are available currently, within that particular generation. But moreover, and this is not occultish, and this is not, I have had many positive experiences with fraternal organizations. You understand what I'm saying in terms of, I can, with all respect, joke, that men, in fact, require fraternization throughout their entire lives, so much so that we go out of our way to make grown up clubs. You feel me? And again, oftentimes these grown up clubs are very, very influential. They transcend politics. They, are the lobbyists. They are the financiers of the modern world. So it's not like, these clubs don't have like a kind of real influence in the real world, like Knights Templar and, all the Freemasons, like, I mean, seriously, again, I was raised in a bingo hall. Technically bingos are 501c3 nonprofits, and that means typically in all bingo fashion, as it is gambling, it is also fundraising for certain organizations that are licensed and get the opportunity to raise funds like this. You feel me? So similar to raffles, similar to, that kind of a thing. But like, growing up in a bingo hall, I grew up essentially supporting and bankrolling a lot of fraternal organizations. You understand what I'm saying? And whether it's they're just fraternal and that they're just dudes, or they're like disabled American veterans, the DAV, you understand? Like there's a lot of other groups that include men and women that are like private. You understand what I'm saying? And I bring all of this up. It's actually not a sidebar because from my experience, it's often been these lodges, as they call them, that are privately owned, where grown adult men get old together and, collect stuff and talk about stuff. Whether you're a veteran or you're just a private individual and you work in the private sector or whatever, you feel me? So, like, the vibe of us getting old means that, like, all of our peers and our cohorts, you understand, are like parts of clubs. They have time and stuff, and we can't like bag on them for that, you understand, because like all of us are going to be in a position sometime soon in this world where we can spend more time in a recreational capacity to fulfill our lives, and I'm very much looking forward to that. So the thing is oftentimes, like the dudes and all the old people that get together in the modern organizations, as it would be, where people get together and join clubs, they sell trains and people collect trains, and old dudes really like trains. I like trains. I think people like trains in general, but generationally speaking, these old school guys grew up around trains. You know what I mean? Like, they vibe on trains. And so there's like there was a huge market, right, for specific train collecting. And I don't think train collecting is going to go away. You know what I mean? Like, I myself, I have experience doing these things. Like, I remember as a vendor when I inherited a bunch of trains. By inherit, I mean, like, purchased, a couple $100 worth of some old some old train toys, you know what I mean, one time. And I had a surplus of inventory, and I was invited by a lodge member to go, set up outside their place and join them for their little train fair where we all met up and sold. And I tell you, I was the youngest person there by like 50 years. You know what I mean? Not to mention, yeah, anyways, so it was sort of like a very interesting time for me where I got to be around all these old dudes who were like just real adamant about train collecting. You feel me? And so that was cool, but I feel like it's equivalency. So like maybe the generation before them, maybe they like collected stamps, or maybe they collected coins. You feel me? I don't know, something that was prevalent at that particular time. And then now people are collecting Pokemon cards. So here on Vlogs About Nothing, and I like how we do this on the channel, right? I mean, we've nearly gone 9 minutes without bringing up the actual header of the topic, but eventually we get to it. And you gotta understand that, like, that's the programming, that's the nature of the channel, and I freaking love it. But, Pokemon cards are my generation's train, stamp, and old coins. You feel me? Like, I cannot believe I could not have imagined the kind of impact that Pokemon cards would have on, like, the whole world in terms of modern day collecting, and the fact that I am convinced that in the year 2040, 2050, all of us old guys are going to be around sitting at some parking lot, vending for some fraternal organization selling Pokemon cards, and we're going to be like all of these senior citizens that are like trading and collecting Pokemon cards, maybe still playing D&D. And that's cool, you know what I mean? But also it's sort of like, dang, there were times, I guess now in retrospect, where I had more money in my pocket as an 8-year-old child than I do now as an adult in any bank account or any kind of money I've ever had, just because these things are worth so much money. Like, I mean, I can't make this stuff up. And oftentimes things are speculative, right? You'll hear like, oh, well, the old Disney VHS tapes are worth a lot too. you can't give those things away, right? They were mass produced. They're not rare. There's nobody on earth paying $50,000 for a black diamond copy of The Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast and so forth. You feel me? They are getting more expensive, but it's just not like that. You know, it's better than Beanie Babies. You feel me? But it's still not the same. Pokemon cards are legit currency. Like, I've seen articles trending online about unopened booster packs of Pokemon cards going for thousands of dollars. Not to mention that to the layperson, you feel me? It's sort of like, why on earth would you do that? But the fact of the matter is that there's also a lot of fraud, you know, in terms of like, because it's such a huge industry now. There's a lot of people who want to capitalize on that, you know, in bad ways, and so oftentimes, for example, a pack of Pokemon cards weighs a certain amount, right? But there are people out there who have figured out the difference in weight by pack of Pokemon cards to determine whether or not they have a holographic card within them. This is the extent to which people are going to covet these to hoard these items, you know what I mean? A first edition base set Charizard is worth like $1,000, like without grading, and just, and again, as a kid, you know, there were times where I had like three Charizards, you feel me, including one first edition base set. Like, I love Pokemon cards. I have one buddy. Shout out to you, my dude Kenneth. Well, good friend. We play basketball together. That's where we met, in fact. It's where I've met a lot of my friends, was out on the basketball court. But long story short, this guy, his grandpa used to give him like a wad of cash. You feel me? Like, we would be doing well. We would be like those little kids from, you know, nowhere, from nothing, at malls, spending copious amounts of money on Pokemon cards because our grandparents would like give us money and stuff. You know what I mean? So long story short, Kenneth is the only dude on this planet. He had, like, if you needed a Pokemon card, you went to Kenneth. This guy, I mean, I can't imagine, you know, his regrets. I think one time as an adult, I was able to talk to him about this, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. But I was staying with the guy, you know, and we were talking, and this is before I think he got married and all this other stuff. Like, it was all kinds of stuff happened, you know, when we got back into each other's lives. But I remember asking him, I was like, dude, do you remember when your grandpa used to give you money like crazy amounts, and you'd have all these Pokemon cards and you would trade them? So he would like trade them for snacks and clothes and whatever. You feel me? Like, it was like it was a commodity back then. And so it's just interesting that, like, you know, there's going to be all these old people sitting around trading Pokemon cards. And I think that, again, it's real interesting stuff because, you know, being a part of that generation, I tell you, it's all hit or miss, right? It's like the same generation who grew up on baseball cards that, you know, were sold in packs of cigarettes that came, you know, there's some coveted things out there for collectors. Babe Ruth rookie card, Mickey Mantle, you know, like Hank Aaron. There are some things out there. The first edition Superman comic, you know, which is worth, like, seriously, I think the last one sold for a little under $500,000. You know what I mean? So, like, collectibles have their financial, you know, goodness, and I'm convinced that Pokemon cards are the new trains, you know what I mean, of like my generation or whatever. So it's real fun and interesting to see all this stuff. It also makes you hope that one day, you know, because I'm old or whatever, that I'm just gonna like buy a storage unit or something, or there's gonna be some random day in my life where I stumble upon this horde of Pokemon cards and I'm like, holy potatoes, you know. So I don't know. I myself obviously am a Pokemon card collector. And then another true story is just like a few years ago, I had bought a few $100s worth of some Pokemon cards, and they weren't as popular as they are now. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I always seem to like miss out just by a little bit, you know? I mean, I'm the guy that sells a Venusaur, for example, holographic first edition jungle booster set for like $60, you know, and then like 2 weeks later it's worth like $400. I'm like, holy potatoes, you know. I should work on that. You know, my timing is terrible at best, but yeah, I'm working on it. I mean, a guy'll never make it if he doesn't keep trying, you know. So I really appreciate all of you watching the videos. I know again that we do some sidebars here, and that's fine. I do them many times in my own life. There's a joy to it, I think. I mean, like, seriously, if you can't have a good sidebar, then, like, what's the whole point of discussing anything? And trust me, we have many. I have many in my life, so it's great. I really, actually, I really thoroughly enjoy it. So I hope that you guys have a lovely evening. Again, be safe tomorrow, the end of your work week. You feel me? TGIF. That's cool. That's good. Now it's time to do nothing. You know what I mean? So, like, do that. Go do nothing. Hope you guys have a good night, all right? Bye.